Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be exploring some really interesting ideas about the power of sound.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you guys sent us some material that delves into specific musical frequencies and ancient knowledge, and even touches on some conspiracy theories.
Wow, it's certainly a unique blend of concepts.
It is.
The source material seems to be suggesting that music isn't just about entertainment. It might actually influence our reality, potential, even our health and well-being.
Yeah, and they really zero in on this frequency, 528 hertz, calling it the love frequency or miracle note.
Right.
They even link it to some pretty big things like DNA repair and emotional well-being.
Yeah,
They go as far as to suggest it's connected to the structure of the pyramids.
that's quite a claim. What's interesting is how the source tries to bridge ancient wisdom with modern science.
Yeah.
They suggest that this 528 hertz frequency resonates with our very DNA, impacting us on a fundamental level.
Right,
It definitely makes you wonder if there's more to sound than meets the ear.
right. And then they bring up this devil's interval, which sounds kind of ominous.
Yeah.
Apparently, when you combine 528 hertz with another frequency, 741 hertz, it creates this dissonant sound that they claim could be harmful.
From a musical perspective, dissonance is often used to create tension or unease.
Right.
I wonder if the source is suggesting that this discomfort we feel when hearing dissonant sounds could translate to a more physical or emotional level.
Oh, wow.
It's certainly a thought-provoking idea.
They don't just stop there, though.
Oh, no!
They even suggest that the standardization of A440 tuning in Western music was a deliberate attempt to suppress this love frequency and keep us all out of sync with,
Oh my gosh.
well, I guess, love.
With love.
Yeah.
The source even names the Rockefeller Foundation as being behind this A440 push, claiming it was based on military research into using sound as a weapon.
Wait, hold on. Acoustic warfare. That sounds a bit like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Hmm.
Are they saying that our favorite pop songs are secretly weapons of mass manipulation?
It's important to remember that the source doesn't present hard evidence for this. While the Rockefeller Foundation did play a role in standardizing tuning, there's no proof that it was part of some grand scheme.
Okay.
It's interesting to think about the power of sound, but we also need to be critical of these kinds of claims.
Okay, point taken. But this next idea is even wilder. The source claims that DNA isn't just a blueprint for our bodies.
Right.
It's an antenna to a higher power.
Wow.
They describe it as functioning like a Tesla coil, amplifying energy and transmitting light and sound signals for communication between cells.
That's where they introduce these terms photons and phonons.
Okay.
Photons, as you may know, are particles of light, and phonons are essentially vibrations in matter that carry sound and heat.
So they're saying our DNA is sending out light and sound signals. But what does that have to do with 528 hertz or the love frequency?
Well, that's where it gets a bit murky. The source is blending scientific terminology with their own interpretations, suggesting that these light and sound signals are somehow connected to a universal energy or consciousness,
Right.
and that specific frequencies like 528 hertz can enhance this connection.
It's starting to feel like we've gone down a rabbit hole. How does water fit into all of this?
Yeah.
I noticed the source mentioned something about structured water.
Right. They claim that the water surrounding our DNA, which they call structured water, plays a crucial role in this energy exchange. They even cite Dr. Emoto's work on water crystals, suggesting that water can be influenced by sound and intention.
Hold up, Dr. Emoto. Isn't that the guy who claimed that water molecules form different crystals based on whether you yell at them or play them Mozart? That's not exactly mainstream science, is it?
You're right to be skeptical.
Yeah.
Dr. Emoto's work has been met with a lot of criticism from the scientific community.
Okay.
While it's true that water is essential for DNA function, the idea of structured water having specific energetic properties is not a widely accepted scientific concept.
So where does this leave us? Are we all just walking, talking tuning forks, resonating with the universe, or is this just a lot of pseudoscience and conspiracy theory?
Well, that's what we're here to explore, right? The source raises some fascinating questions, even if the conclusions are a bit out there.
Yeah.
It's up to us to look at the evidence, separate the fact from the fiction, and maybe learn something new along the way.
This has definitely been an interesting start to the deep dive.
It has.
We'll be back in part 2 to unpack some more of these ideas and see if we can find any real-world applications or connections to this love frequency.
Don't forget to let us know what you think. What stands out to you so far? What questions do you have? We'll try to address as many as we can in the next part.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're continuing our exploration of sound and its potential impact on us, digging deeper into the source material you sent our way. It seems like we've stumbled into a world where music is more than just entertainment, possibly even a key to unlocking hidden potential within us.
Indeed, and it's fascinating how the source blends scientific language with spiritual concepts, creating this intriguing tapestry of ideas. They really emphasize this idea that the universe is built on 9 core creative frequencies, with 528 hertz being one of them. They even go as far as to say that everything in the universe is made from these 9 notes, representing them in a circle of sound diagram.
I remember that. And they're really drawn to the color green,
Right.
connecting it to 528 hertz, the heart chakra, and even chlorophyll in plants. It's like they're seeing a hidden pattern of green throughout the universe.
Yes, and they tie it back to the love frequency concept. It's as if they're suggesting that green, 528 hertz, and love are all intertwined, forming a sort of fundamental creative force in the universe. It's a beautiful idea, even if it's not necessarily supported by scientific evidence. They even point out that there are 5,280 feet in a mile. While it's an interesting coincidence, it doesn't necessarily prove a causal link.
I guess sometimes patterns can be misleading. Speaking of potentially misleading patterns, what about this devil's interval idea? They claim that combining 528 hertz with 741 hertz creates a dissonant, potentially even harmful sound. Do you think there's any truth to that?
Well, it's true that certain combinations of sounds can be perceived as unpleasant or jarring. From a musical perspective, dissonance is often used strategically to create tension or unease in a piece of music. Some studies have shown that exposure to certain noises can trigger stress responses in the body, but it's a far cry from claiming that specific musical intervals are inherently harmful.
They even go on to suggest that the standardized tuning of A440 in Western music was a deliberate move to incorporate this dissonant 741 hertz frequency, keeping us subtly out of tune with the supposed love frequency of 528 hertz. It all ties back to the alleged Rockefeller conspiracy we talked about earlier.
Yes. The source claims that the Rockefeller Foundation, with their supposed interest in controlling the masses, intentionally chose A440 tuning to induce stress and disharmony in society. They even point to Elvis Presley and the rise of rock and roll as a symptom of this sonic manipulation.
It's a pretty dramatic claim, isn't it? While I can see how the timing might seem to fit their narrative, it feels like quite a leap to connect the standardization of musical tuning to some grand scheme for social control.
I agree. It's important to consider the historical context. The standardization of tuning was a complex process driven by a variety of factors, including the need for orchestras in different locations to play together in tune. Attributing it solely to a conspiracy theory seems
There's
like
a
an
whole world of knowledge
oversimplification.
out there just
Okay,
waiting
so
to be
maybe we should
discovered.
take that idea
That's
with
what
a
I
grain
love
of
about
salt.
our deep dives.
But let's
Yeah.
move on to
They
another
always open my
intriguing,
mind to new
if somewhat
possibilities
bewildering concept.
and make me
The
think
idea
about the
that
world in a
DNA
different
acts like
way.
an
Me
antenna to
too.
a higher power
This one has been
or
really
universal
fascinating,
consciousness.
even though I'm still
The
not
source
totally
describes
sure
it as
what to
functioning like a
believe.
Tesla
That's the
coil,
beauty of it.
sending
It's
and
a journey,
receiving
not
light
a
and sound
destination.
signals for
Yeah.
communication
And even if you
between
never
cells.
It's
fully
important to
embrace
break down what they're
numerology
saying
or
here.
gematria,
When they
Right.
talk about light
just
and sound
exploring
signals,
these
they're using the
concepts can be
scientific
really
terms
valuable.
photons
Totally agree.
for
So,
light and
to everyone
phonons for
listening, whether
sound.
you're a numerology expert
Photons
or
are the
just
basic
starting
units of
out,
light, and phonons are essentially
keep
vibrations
exploring,
in
keep
matter that
asking
carry
questions, keep
sound
an
and
open
heat
mind.
energy.
Yeah.
Who knows
While these
what you might
concepts are
discover.
real, applying
Exactly.
them in the
Well, that's
context
about
of
it for our
DNA
deep dive
acting as an
into
antenna to a
numerology
higher
and
power
gematria.
is where things get a
It's been a
little
wild ride.
fuzzy.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're
We
taking
hope you enjoyed
legitimate
it and learned
scientific
something new.
concepts and
Definitely.
weaving
If
them
you're
into
interested
their
in
own
learning more,
interpretation of how
be
the
sure to
universe
check out the
works.
show
Yeah.
notes
They
for
even
links to
bring in
some
the concept of
resources.
structured
idea.
water. And as always, claiming thanks that for the listening, water and surrounding we'll see you on the
DNA
next
is crucial
deep dive for this
See you
energy
later.
transmission.
Yes, and they connect this structured water to Dr. Emoto's work on water crystals, which, as we discussed earlier, isn't considered scientifically sound.
Hmm.
While water is undoubtedly vital for DNA function, the idea that specific geometric arrangements of water molecules hold special energetic properties isn't supported by mainstream science.
Okay, so we've got this blend of real scientific terms like photons and phonons mixed with concepts like structured water and DNA antennas, which are more speculative. It's hard to know what to make of it all.
It's certainly a challenging mix to unpack. In part 3, we'll delve deeper into the scientific claims made by the source and try to separate the facts from the speculation. We'll also explore what, if anything, we can take away from these ideas and apply to our own understanding of the power of sound.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been on quite a journey exploring the world of sound, haven't we?
We have.
From ancient frequencies and love vibrations to DNA antennas and water crystals,
Yeah.
we've covered a lot of ground. But I think it's time to take a step back and try to make sense of it all.
You're right. It's been quite a whirlwind of ideas.
It has.
And I'm sure you listening out there have some thoughts and questions swirling around as well.
For sure.
Let's try to unravel some of these threads and see if we can separate the science from the speculation.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. The source material we've been discussing seems to be built on this idea that the universe is structured around 9 core creative frequencies, with 528 Hz being a central one.
Right.
They even call it the love frequency. What do you make of that?
Well, from a purely scientific standpoint, the idea that the universe is built on specific frequencies isn't really supported by current evidence.
Right.
While it's true that sound is a form of energy and that everything vibrates at a certain frequency,
Yeah.
the notion that these 9 specific frequencies hold some kind of universal significance is more of a philosophical or spiritual concept.
Right. And they make all these connections between 528 Hertz and things like the structure of the pyramids, the color green, and even the number of feet in a mile.
Yeah.
Those connections seem more like interesting coincidences than hard evidence, wouldn't you say?
Exactly. While it's fun to explore those kinds of patterns, it's important to remember that correlation doesn't equal causation. Just because two things share a numerical value or a visual similarity doesn't necessarily mean there's a meaningful relationship between them.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the devil's interval and the claim that A440 tuning was intentionally chosen to create dissonance and disrupt our natural harmony? I have to admit that one sounds a bit far-fetched.
I understand your skepticism. The source material doesn't provide any concrete evidence to support the claim that A440 tuning was a deliberate attempt to manipulate the masses.
Right.
The standardization of tuning was a complex process with a long history driven by practical considerations as much as anything else.
So no secret sonic warfare being waged by the Rockefellers through pop music.
It's probably safe to say that's not the case. While it's true that sound can have powerful effects on our emotions and even our physiology, there's a big difference between recognizing the potential influence of sound and attributing malicious intent to every musical decision.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about this whole DNA antenna concept. The source describes DNA as functioning like a Tesla coil, sending and receiving light and sound signals to communicate with a higher power or universal consciousness. Do those claims hold any water from a scientific perspective?
Well, the source uses legitimate scientific terms like photons and phonons, which can make their claims sound convincing at first glance. But the way they apply these concepts to DNA is outside the realm of current scientific understanding.
Right. They're basically suggesting that our DNA is sending out light and sound signals to connect with some kind of universal energy field. But is there any evidence to support that idea?
Not that I'm aware of. While DNA is a fascinating molecule that plays a crucial role in cellular communication, the idea that it acts as a literal antenna to a higher power is not a concept that's supported by mainstream science.
And what about structured water? They claim that the water surrounding our DNA has special energetic properties and is essential for this communication with the universe. They even cite Dr. Emoto's work on water crystals as evidence.
As we discussed earlier, Dr. Emoto's research is not considered scientifically valid. While water is certainly vital for DNA function, the idea that specific geometric arrangements of water molecules hold special energetic properties is not a well-established scientific concept.
So it seems like we've encountered a mix of intriguing ideas, some questionable science, and a sprinkle of conspiracy theory. What's the takeaway here? Should we just dismiss everything the source material says as nonsense?
I wouldn't say that. Even if some of the claims don't hold up to scientific scrutiny, the source does raise some interesting questions about the power of sound and its potential impact on our lives.
I agree. It's made me think more deeply about the music I listen to and the ways in which sound can influence my mood, my energy levels, and even my sense of connection to the world around me.
Exactly. And that's perhaps the most valuable takeaway from all of this. Even if we don't subscribe to every theory presented, exploring these ideas can encourage us to be more mindful of the role sound plays in our lives and to appreciate the power it has to move us, inspire us, and connect us.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the message is clear. Keep listening. Keep questioning and keep exploring. Whether you're drawn to the soothing hum of 528 Hz, the intricate melodies of a symphony, or the simple beauty of nature's sounds, there's a world of sonic wonder out there waiting to be discovered.
And remember, the journey of discovery is just as important as the destination. Keep those ears open, those minds curious, and never stop exploring the wonders of the world around you.
Until next time, keep those vibes high and stay tuned for more deep dives into the fascinating world of knowledge.